My name is Jason Simard, and I am the founder of Sims Coaching Systems. I'm here with my co-founder, Joe Moretti, and we're here on the 7-Figure Real Estate Podcast, the podcast you didn't know you even needed. Everyone, get your notepads out. Let's go. We're going to bring you value week over week, and we're actually going to be a lot of fun, and we hope to make you laugh out loud. Subscribe to our channel. Check the content out. If you're looking to take this to a whole nother level, we got you covered. Episode 5?
I think 6?
6? Wow.
I don't even know, man.
I don't even know either.
Rapid fire.
It's the Joe Schmo Show. It's the 7-Figure Podcast Show you didn't even know you wanted, but here we are. If you're actually tuning in, great. We got a special guest here today.
We do. The man, the myth, the legend. Somebody we've been collaborating with for years now. Andrew Hollandchuk.
Here we are.
All the way from Victoria, BC.
My hometown. Represent.
Muscles, glasses. Guy's got guns for days, man. Gotta say, I'm impressed with your physique, Andrew.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know how much work you've put into that over the years.
Jason's going to get a big oil painting of you with your shirt off.
More better than when a guy says that.
It's true. It's true. Like, I don't mind a compliment. I don't get a lot of compliments, but if somebody gives me a compliment, I don't care if male, female, I'm taking it and I'm appreciating it. And so that's actually a good segue to some of the things we're going to talk about today, but go out of your way and try and make somebody feel good. It's never a bad thing. I mean, there's a creepy way to give a compliment, but then there's like a really just like genuine way of giving a compliment. Like, hey, dude, I really like the color of that shirt. It seems to go well with your skin tone, Joe.
Thank you, Jason.
Milky
white.
Milky white. Joe, how was your weekend, man?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Always an adventure at the Moretti house. Friday night, I will say, it got a little out of hand.
What happened?
Jen and I, went to the Legion, first of all.
The Legion.
Shout out to the Legion.
Nice.
Wow.
Did a music trivia at the Legion. We shut the Legion down at 10.
Wow.
And then headed home. No kids.
That's the latest that's been freaking stayed
I think
open.
usually it's like 1:45. So it was like
most of the patrons are home by 8.
Shut that thing down. End up going home. And every once in a while, when the kids aren't there, magic happens. And everybody's like, "Oh, okay." Nah, it's different magic.
All right.
Happens once every 2 years, where the bottles of Jack Daniels come out. Wow. And for us in our relationship, there's a lot of significance around Jack Daniels. Bottles of Jack come out, and it's just music. And we are like singing. It's just the two of us, like singing and dancing and laughing. Our whole relationship is based on music, like the songs that take you back to a certain trip or a certain time. So drank a lot of Jack, like nice. A lot. So and just hung out laughing and spilling it everywhere in the kitchen. And
what time do you guys shut it down?
2:30. Just the two of us. I know.
I gotta say, like, you and your wife Jen are probably like the cutest couple that I know. I just love you guys. You guys, they like are infatuated with each other. They've been together for years. Yeah. Man, you guys, it's incredible. It's a really nice relationship.
How long have you guys been together?
We've been together just over, I think, 10 years.
Nice.
10 years now, yeah. But we knew each other like way back in the day, which is a whole nother podcast. One of these days.
Actually, you know what? Today's the day. There's a story on how Joe and his wife ended up together, and it's actually a really nice story. I remember him and I went for a long walk around Westwood Lake here in Nanaimo, and he told me all about it. And it probably would make one of the greatest chick flicks. Seriously, I'm not joking. This is a really good story, Joe. Tell us a story about you and Jen. It's really nice. You guys got to like pay attention to this because it's gonna tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah. So funny thing. So it kind of goes back to when I was 17. So in 1997, I pulled up to a stoplight downtown Nanaimo about midnight, like in a random Wednesday in August. So I pull up to a stoplight. I'm with like two of my buddies. I'm in the passenger seat, and we're just out being idiots at midnight on a Wednesday in August, right? Just graduated high school. I'm turning left. We're in the left turning lane. So I'm in the passenger seat. This car pulls up, and it's a pretty beat. I think it was like an old Toyota Camry or a old Corolla or something like that, right? Or an old Trisella. It just beats hell. Pulls up, and I look over, and I kind of do a quick head count. There's 3 of us guys, and there's 3 girls, right? So, I roll down my window, and she rolls down her window, and I went, "Hey."
Eyes locked. Wow.
Right? Hey. And she's like, "What do you want?" And I said, "You know where any parties are?" It's the only line I had as a kid. Like, I didn't know any of that. Hey, where do you know where any parties are? And she's like, "I'm not from here." And I went, "Oh, well, where are you from? Because this was in Nanaimo. I said, where are you from? She goes, Victoria. I went, oh, you don't say. I'm from Victoria. I said, what high school did you go to? She goes, well, I went to St. Andrews. You know St. Andrews, right? She goes, I went to St. Andrews. I said, okay. Well, I went to Claremont a little bit and Royal Oak, and then I moved up to Nanaimo. I said, my cousin went to St. Andrews. She goes, what's your cousin's name? So I dropped my cousin's name. And she goes, oh, I think I went to school with him. And I'm like, it's on, right? The value of banter.
Yeah.
Just being able to carry a conversation with a complete stranger.
And what's really good about that is like you weren't getting great vibes early. Like she was kind of like,
No.
we're from Victoria.
Yeah,
like,
no, there was no great vibes. There was no great vibes. And so I said, all right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you my pager number. Everybody laughs. The old Motorola pages. I'm going to give you my pager number. And if you guys aren't up to anything, like just hit us up. There's 3 of you, 3 of us, and we'll hang out. So wrote my pager number on a piece of paper, gave it to her, and then the car did like a U-turn, and we're back up the north end. They're going south. We get to my buddy's house. We put my pager in the middle of the table, and we're just like this.
3 guys
Silent.
looking at this
Silent.
pager.
Waiting for it.
Just hoping.
Waiting for it. And then all of a sudden it's zzz, 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 and I pick it up, I hit the button, and it had her phone number. But afterwards, guess what it said? 911. 911 6969. Now, for any, you had a pager back in the day, didn't you?
Who didn't?
So what happened when you got 911? That was like, it's important.
Very.
What happens if you got 69?
It's even more important.
It's even more. It's even
Especially
more
when you're an 18-year-old male.
Yeah, right. So literally drop everything, and they were house sitting in a place downtown. So we head down there, but on my way out, I grabbed the secret weapon. You know what that was? No, it's not condoms.
That's what I was thinking.
You dirty bastard. No, it was a Warren G CD.
Oh, regulators?
Yeah.
Mount up. It was a clear black.
Yeah, G-Funk era. So I put Warren G in my back pocket. We take off. We go down to this little like condo, and there's like this old busted like stereo. And so there's 3 of them, and we're all sitting around kind of having a drink. And I'm like, you know what? It's time. So I said, hey, where's your CD player? So I pull up the CD. I put it in, close the lid, hit play. I look over, bang, planted one on her, gave her a kiss.
Wow.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Like we're talking like, I was
Was
there
there
like
any
15 minutes.
rapport?
Oh, of course.
Okay, there's a
there
bit of rapport.
There's that unspoken rapport.
So
right?
you and
just-
So
Jen-
she was awake.
She
Yeah.
was the one
Yeah.
out of the 3 girls. Out of the 3 girls,
Yeah.
she was the one that you locked eyes and connected with.
So in my group of guys, I was, I guess, for lack of a better term, I was kind of like the alpha. I was the guy that did the talking, that made the plans, and then my posse would just come along. And she was the exact same way.
Wow.
Right? So she was the one who sort of did the talking, and so it's almost like the, I don't know, 2 top dogs,
2 alphas.
two alphas.
Sure.
I guess, sure.
She's
sure.
the alpha in her group. You're the alpha in yours.
So we spent
Pack leaders.
Yeah, we spent the whole night hanging out together. We drove around, watched the sunrise, like just kids being kids.
Can I
right?
ask you something?
Shoot, my friend.
Do you think that was like you were in love?
100%. 100%. So let me know how I will tell you I was in love. So I gave her my phone number, not my pager number, my phone number. She gave me her home phone number for down in Victoria. And she said to me, she goes, in 3 days or 4 days, she goes, it's my birthday. And I'm going to have some people over. Do you want to come down? And I was like, sure. Yeah, I guess.
Played it cool.
Played it cool. You got to play it cool, right? So all I did was think about her for the next 3 or 4 days. So that weekend I drive to Victoria. I get over the Malahat. Remember the old Payless, right? When you got over the Malahat, there's I think it's a Shell or station or something. Yeah. Shout out to Shell Canada. And so there's a little payphone there. So I pull into the place because I don't even have her address. Pick up the phone, and her mom answers the phone. And I said, hey, is Jennifer there? And she's like, yeah, hang on a sec. And I can sort of hear people like in the background. And then she kind of comes back and she's like, can I tell her who's calling? I said, yeah, it's Joe. And she's like, Joe, oh, the boy from Nanaimo. And I'm thinking,
wow,
man, it's on. She goes, yeah, Jen wanted me to tell you that she has a boyfriend and she would appreciate it if you pretend you never met her.
Wow.
Click.
Wow.
Click. And I was like, oh man, like,
Wow.
I am.
Tell us how you felt in that moment.
I
Joe.
cried in the phone booth on August 18th, 1997. I cried in a phone booth.
Wow.
Right. It was a glass case of emotion. It literally was. So heartbroken.
What'd you do on the way home?
Heartbroken. Away home.
So you turned around.
Yeah. Well, what am I going to do, right? What am I
Poor
going to do?
guy.
Wow.
So excited.
Turned around. And so I stopped at the Staples in Duncan, and I bought one of those black and white like Mead composition books. Got home, and I started writing her letters. And I started writing her poems. And I don't know, but my 17 or 18-year-old heart just exploded.
Wow.
And I was like, and this is going to sound
How many did you write?
It was a book. It was a book. And so, again, like but I don't know what it was. It was just this connection that I had. And it sounds so stalkerish, but I like wrote her letters. Hey, if I ever meet you again, here, I wonder what kind of food you like. Here's a list of like questions that I want to ask you. You know, I just on and on and on and on and on. Started university, kind of went on with my life. You know, the book ended up wherever the book ended up. Go on with my life. Ended up going through university. Had a really, really tough time in my final year. My best friend, Jeff Pearson, one of the guys who was there that night, he actually passed away, undiagnosed heart condition. We were 21, probably one of the worst days of my life. Yeah. Worst days of my life. So ended up kind of like going through university, getting out, ended up getting married. It kind of got like that corporate job, went on with my life. And then things just kind of fell apart in my first marriage, and it just didn't quite work out. I had a young son. Ended up kind of going like the single dad route, and I was working for City Financial. So I was running a couple City Financial offices. And back then, so this would have been 2010, 2011, something like that. And back then at the old City Financial branches, if you couldn't make a manager's meeting, you'd send a delegate, like an assistant manager, to take the notes for you. But I loved the managers' meetings. Everybody loves managers' meetings. So I do corporate stuff. So I ended up at this managers meeting in Nanaimo, and I'm sitting across from this girl, and we're yapping away, and I don't really know much about her. She's an assistant manager somewhere in Victoria. And we're just chatting, right? After a day of meetings, just chatting. And so this would have been, I guess like 13 years later, 14 years later, sitting there chatting, and we're talking about restaurants in Victoria. And she says to me, she goes, wow, for a guy from Nanaimo, like you know a lot about restaurants in Victoria, talking about like Ferris's Oyster Bar, and like Pink Bicycle and Pig, and when Pig was like their other location, when it was just like a smoker and two chairs, like just talking. She goes, you know a lot about Victoria. I said, well, I'm actually from Victoria. And she goes, okay, yeah, I am too. I said, oh, that's cool. What high school did you go to? And she goes, well, I went to St. Andrews High School. And I kind of went, huh? She goes, what about you? I said, I was going to go to Claremont, but ended up in Nanaimo. She goes, okay. I said, my cousin went to St. Andrews. And she goes like this. So I dropped my cousin's name, and she was eating. She puts her fork down, and she goes like this. You never called me.
Oh, wow.
And I said, yeah, I did. And this is what happened. And she's like, no, you didn't. And so there was like that instant, like almost like best friend connection. It's like running into your best friend that you hadn't seen for like 10 years, right? Like, oh my God, it's like, how are you? How have things been going? And she's like, not great. She goes, so my son at the time would have been about 2. She goes, I have a daughter that's 2. Just kind of going through a marriage that wasn't working for her, and just sort of the separation process like I had. And just kind of felt that instant connection. So we just kind of became like friends. So I ended up helping her go from, she was working at City Group. She ended up at HSBC. I had then moved to TD Canada Trust. And then I kind of got her away from HSBC, got her a role in TD Canada Trust. And we were just really good friends. And one night, out of nowhere, she sends me this text. And she says, I think one day if we're going to get married, we should probably go on a date. And I went like, what? I'm like, okay, right? So let's give it a shot. So we go on a first date. Now, our first date is at a Greek restaurant named Asteras here in Nanaimo. So we go on this first date. I'm so nervous. So she's living in Victoria. I'm in Nanaimo. She drives up, and we meet at this Greek restaurant. We walk in, and we sit down, and the waitress comes around and says, just give me like 5 minutes. Like, I don't even want a drink order. I just need 5 minutes. And she's kind of looking at me. I said, I lost you once, and I won't lose you again. Wow. I said, here is a book that I wrote you. And I pulled out the poetry book from 1997.
This guy's game.
And I
Jeez.
said, I just need you to see this. And she's looking at it, reading every page. And of course, more than 5 minutes go by, and she closes it, and you could just see her eyes starting to well up with tears. And then I pulled out a house key, and I said, and you and your daughter are going to move in next weekend.
I'm getting like some shivers going on.
I
here,
have
right?
gone 30 years of my life without you. I will never go another day. And she took the house key and went, okay. And she moved in the next week and a half.
Wow.
That was it. That's how I met my wife.
That's
So
crazy.
Isn't that cool? Can you not see what I mean? Like how that would make like a great chick flick,
That's crazy.
and it's a real life story.
it's a real life story, right?
So her mom,
Oh man.
She just
Oh,
you.
can I say
Pam?
something?
Oh,
blocked
man.
you.
Shout out to Pam. Pam, like you are a legend. I've heard stories. So Pam, I think Pam secretly feels guilty from that day because she has treated Joe like absolute gold
Oh, you
since.
have no
like
idea.
you have no,
No
idea.
idea.
Joe gets treated
Yeah.
like royalty.
Yeah.
Joe could do no wrong.
I will tell you, I have the greatest in-laws on the whole planet. I am so blessed with my family. And the first time I went down there, Jen kind of prepped her, and Pam opens the door. She's like, I never said that. I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't say that. And I was like, all right, well, it was a long time ago. I'm willing to look past it. And but yeah, my mother-in-law is just like the biggest.
Was she just being
hardball.
Mama Bear?
She was, yeah. So like, Jen had just broken up with like her high school boyfriend, and
Right.
I think my mother-in-law really liked that guy, and so it was just kind of a weird thing to all of a sudden start having like guys call the house.
Totally.
So it was kind of like just like a mama bear, like protective type layer, which obviously that worked. So because I stopped calling the house
Andrew.
for 13 years.
Pam lives in Victoria, by the way. You got to meet
Oh,
Pam.
yeah. Oh,
She's a
Pam.
legend from what I hear.
She's-
She makes these bowls Joe was telling me about. They're
Oh,
called
it's
Pam
It's
bowls.
called a Pam bowl.
The Pine Bowls.
Joe, tell us about the Pam bowl. This sounds like the most incredible thing. Every
Oh,
time I
man.
snack now, I think of those
You send
Pam
me
bowls.
pictures of what you think a Pam bowl would
Oh,
be.
I have visions of what a Pam bowl
Yeah.
looks
So
like.
my father.
Jambalaya?
Listen to
it
this.
Might as well. It might as well be. So my father-in-law, he worked at Roger, who again, like just the greatest dude on the. I just keep saying I'm so blessed with my in-laws. Roger worked at the Times Colonist. Like he worked there over 40 years. Like he was like an OG editor at the time. Like he did all the layout. Like he remembers the day John Lennon was killed doing the layout for it and stuff. Raj worked from 3 in the afternoon until like 11 o'clock at night. So they always eat at like 11 o'clock at night, but they don't eat giant meals. What Pam did, Pam would always take a bowl and just fill it with stuff, but it's calculated stuff. So it would have a base of like cheesies. And then on top of the cheesies would be like your jalapeno popcorn. But on top of the jalapeno popcorn would be like the kettle corn. So it would go from like cheese, like savory on up, and then it would on the top you'd have like a little bit of like M&Ms or Smarties, and then you'd have like it would almost look like a shrimp cocktail with like your dried mango coming out of the top. And so that is a Pam bowl. It's like 11 o'clock at night. You get a snack.
I'm actually getting hungry.
And
Dude, I'm so honestly, I'm so old school, but like the key to my heart, like if you do something like that for me, I will love you forever. Like to me, there's nothing that tastes better than something that was made with love.
Oh man, like
You know?
And it's funny. So my son and I, so we go down and we stay with Pam and Raj probably every 3 months or so, where it's just us boys that go down. Nice. And usually about 72 hours prior, I either get a text, but sometimes it's a phone call, and it's almost like Pam's like reviewing a checklist, like what type of popcorn would you like? Would you like jalapeno or non-jalapeno Cheetos? Would you like this? Would you like? Does Jackson want Sprite, Diet Sprite, or chocolate milk at 10 o'clock at night? And it's like this checklist. And it's funny because Jen's like, well, when I come down, it's just like, what kind of tea do you want? So, so it's
Well, in fairness, Pam didn't have any sons.
yeah.
And I think she's like your traditional, like
Very traditional.
very traditional woman that wants to like really like look after her man and has like those values. And she's just taken a liking to Joe. And Joe's really thoughtful. Like when he goes to Victoria, he always stops by, gets her flowers. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
you have to, right? And I think that rapport and that connection is so important with again, like the people in your life, like your friends and your family. And we talk a lot about like prospecting and things like that, about, you know, really honestly, nobody cares about you until you show them you care first.
Absolutely.
And I think that is so important. And that's what I take out of a lot of my relationship, like with my family, especially my in-laws, is I go out of my way to show that I care. My father-in-law, for his birthday about 5 years ago, he'd never seen Bob Dylan. And oddly enough, I bought Jen and I tickets to go see Bob Dylan. And Jen was like, Joe, just give it to my dad. I know you want to go with my dad. So my father-in-law and I went to go see Bob Dylan. And again, just it's those gestures that I think really go a long way. So
Totally.
The reaction when you gave it to him.
oh man, it was just like,
Really?
oh,
choked
and
up.
man, did we have an amazing weekend. Like,
Cool, hey?
Yeah, went down to the Shark Club. He'd never been to the Shark Club before, so I took him there, and we were there. And my father-in-law, he runs like the Times Colonist Marathon. He's done Boston Marathon. He's done like New York. He's done like, he's a marathon runner. Guy runs probably 40, 50 kilometers a week, like in his like late 60s, early 70s. Rides his bike probably another 15, 20 kilometers a week. Like the guy's more in shape than I could ever dream of being. And it's funny, the waitress came down and she's like, oh, you know, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're actually here. You know, it's my father-in-law. I said, and to the waitress, I said, did you know he actually finished third in the Boston Marathon? And she looks at him, she goes, whoa. Right? She's
like a
and
celebrity.
she's like, you did? And he's like, well, yeah, you know, it was tough and a lot of training. So she's got this giant smile. He's got this giant smile. She walks away and he's like, Joe, I finished like 275th.
Yeah. I was like, man, third.
Yeah.
But just to do the Boston Marathon,
That's
that's
so
a win right
cool.
there.
Yeah, so I have champion in-laws, but again, I think the one thing that I've learned my whole life is again, you always show people you actually care first, right? Create that rapport, create that conversation. So the way I met my wife was, again, just having those like just putting myself out there, creating that banter, creating that rapport, that connection, and just asking really great questions.
I just can't believe how the full circle happened.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
really
it's, you know, people say, oh, it's a small world, man. It's a small island that we live on, right? And there's a million people. But it just goes to show, like, you never know when that person's going to come back in.
Now, if we dissect this, because this is kind of how my brain works.
Sure.
If Joe had done what most people do when he got the early objections when he first met Jen, and he didn't persist and keep working through that, they wouldn't be together today.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, man, I can give you so many examples in life where you're having a conversation with somebody and initially they're very standoffish and they're not really giving you the time of day. Keep working it. Keep digging deeper. Blow through those smoke screens because they just don't know you yet. There's not that rapport yet. And it's like, I remember, man, this one scenario made me a ton of money, Joe. I remember calling a girl at work because somebody taught me this early in my career.
I love this story. So I love this story, yeah.
Call people at work. And I was like, the first time I heard that, I was like, I'm not calling somebody at work. Like, built this whole story in my head. Like, you should never call somebody at work. Well, I started doing it. And guess what? My contact rate went way up. So if you're not calling people at work, guys, you need to call people at work. And I remember this is like my first month in real estate. And I called this girl and I called her at work and she gave me the brush off right off the bat, right? I did my opener and then she's just like, I'm at work right now. And I just thought quickly on my feet, just like Joe did in that moment. And I'm like, because I'm persistent. And I said, you know what? The best part of this right now is you're getting paid to talk to me. And she started laughing. She started laughing. And I had a 10-minute in-depth conversation with her. Ended up doing a market evaluation, selling her house, getting them into a house.
But wait, there's more.
A year later, I sold their house again, sold them another house. And then 2 years later, sold another house for them and they bought another house. 6 transactions happened on this relationship based on me calling at work and me blowing through a smoke screen and not giving up. Guys, the compound effect of having those skills over time is incredible. Like, people ask me, how did you do so many sales in your first year? Well, I brought that same level of intensity and persistence. Now, I'm pretty lucky. My dad said no to everything. Like, I have that dad.
I was going to say, you had that dad.
I have that dad. My dad, no matter what I asked for, it was always a no. Always.
Shout out to Jermaine.
Jermaine, I love you, Dad. And I thank my dad to this day because my dad taught me that no doesn't mean no. because I knew if I wanted something bad enough, I had to be persistent, relentless, and I had to keep trying different angles, and I never gave up. And so a lot of my persistence in this whole Sims real estate group, everything that we've got here is literally thanks to my dad instilling that in me as a kid. Because when you say no to me, I'm like, okay, you just need more information, right?
Yeah.
You obviously don't have enough information to make a decision. So I'm going to keep working it. And it drives my wife crazy because shout out to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is very much like no means no. Karen.
Shout out Karen.
Love you, Karen. And so my wife, like when my wife says no, it's no. But of course, me being me and how I've been raised, I see that as a challenge. And believe me, every once in a while I get a W with my wife. She's probably the hardest person for me to change her no to a yes. But I surprise myself sometimes, and I do get the occasional win. And it's really funny because now I'm noticing my kids using the same stuff on me. And
it's like the Jedi mind shit,
dude,
man.
my 14-year-old, these guys are becoming like master negotiators. Like it's like when they're kids, it's easy to kind of like firmly say no, but now they're like getting very clever and they're coming up with like really strong rebuttals to my objections. So the more I teach them about sales, the harder my life is as a parent, Joe.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what I'm finding is my kids are coming with solutions to a problem that they've created. So it's not like, Dad, can I have? It's, so I've been saving and I was thinking that I could. And then I'm like, well, okay, I'll listen versus, can you buy me this? It's like, they won't. They'll actually come with solutions. So I think that's cool too, right? Like they'll identify the gap, talk about how to bridge the gap, usually the monetary support that is required from me, and then how the gap gets closed. So, yeah, I appreciate that that's happening. And man, you have kids too.
Now my kids are a lot older.
They are.
So my son, just like your guys' kids, after a while they learn all these techniques.
Yep.
And with that being
Talking to your mic there.
there we are.
Friggin' rookie.
Have all these techniques.
There you go.
And with that being said, eventually, Alex starts at a younger age writing out like contracts.
Oh
So
boy.
that way, hey Dad, we've dated it. This is what we're talking about here. Do you want to sign it, right? So that way, all of a sudden, now it's a whole other level.
Do you seek independent legal advice when that comes out? Because I would.
You know what? I didn't, but I should. Absolutely.
You're still making payments.
Oh man, Andrew, how many times did you agree to something in writing and then regret it like a few weeks later?
Well, I've always learned too, don't make rash decisions quickly, right? So it's like, hey, we should sleep on this. So that way, because it turns into countering.
Right.
Right. So yeah, you want this, but let's counter with something with us, and then we'll fine tune it. Right. So
Right.
before you know it, we're countering back and forth, locking it in, and then committing to it.
So do your people actually call his people, or do his people call your people?
It all depends on the scenario.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have this? Your kids like know who to go to for what?
Oh yes.
Do your kids ever, producer Ryan or Paige or any, like, do you guys have this too? The kids know, like, okay, who's more likely to say yes? So in my household, my wife is very much like strict on like the food that the kids eat and the snacks, and she's, make sure they're not taking too much sugar and whatever, right? I'm like a little more lax. So if they ask me for something, so they'll strategically come to me and ask for things like that. Problem is, I've learned now because my wife will find out, and then I'm the one getting in trouble because they're so cute. Like, it's hard to say no to a cute kid, right?
They are cute kids. I'll give you that.
But they'll go to mom, and if mom says no, then they come to dad. Now I've learned, well, what did your mom say?
There we are.
And my daughter, she's 3, and man, she's a little more mischievous than her brothers. I gotta say, she's so cute. But she said, "Well, mommy said yes." Well, I got caught with that a couple times. I know better now. So I'll say, really? Let me go ask him. No, you don't need to ask mom. I already asked her. No, I'm going to go ask. And then, the truth comes out.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
funny.
She is, man, it is like mind blowing how smart little girls are. Like, mind blowing. My sons are pretty straightforward. Like, they couldn't pull like the kind of like stuff that she pulls from us. She is smart. She's very calculated. She knows exactly what she's doing. It's very impressive at such a young age how smart she is. It's scary. And like, I know you have a daughter as well.
Absolutely.
and she's an adult now. And look,
and
please don't take this the
engaged
wrong
adult.
way. You have a beautiful daughter, okay? I hate to say it, but she's a beautiful daughter.
Takes after mom.
What was it like in the teenage years and stuff? Like, did you find that she also had a way with how to get yes from you?
My heart just melts all the time around my daughter and my family and everybody around me. So I can't say no, right? But having a beautiful daughter wasn't easy.
No?
Well, see, the challenge that we have, all three of us have very good-looking, sort of like blonde daughters. So I think we should almost create like a support network.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because they're all in different stages,
Yeah.
right? You've got the adult. I've got like the beautiful teenage daughter. Jason's got the beautiful
Toddler.
3-year-old. 4?
She's going to turn 4 next
January.
month.
Yeah.
December.
So those
December
January.
23rd, yeah.
See, my daughter's now engaged, so it's almost
Hey, congrats, pal.
like, thanks.
Yeah, it's
it's almost
exciting.
like, hey, it's your problem now.
Yeah.
Right? Like now she's your responsibility.
You know what?
Right? Like
I was listening
Or
to
so
something.
you think.
I was listening to something the
That'll
other
always be
day.
there.
Yeah.
I was listening, and like as a father, Andrew, did you find this? So like, being her father, right? That you kind of felt like an obligation to be like her protector and those kind of things. Now that she is with another guy, did you have like a chat with him and talk about like, hey, listen, like my daughter's really important to
passing
me.
the
Like
torch.
I'm passing the torch to you. Like, what does that process look like? Because I've played that scenario out. I try not to think about that because it gives me a lot of anxiety. I'm like, oh, she's too young. But I know one day, that may happen. And I'm just curious.
this is a crazy story because it just happened. So dad will always be dad,
Right.
right? And she's like pretty much like my first love, right? Because she's my girl, right?
Right.
And today is Monday, so Saturday night she went out with a friend. Rarely goes out, and then her fiance is like at 11 o'clock going, hey, I haven't heard from Jess
Oh, no.
since 7.
And you've been like, I've been training for this.
Oh, and so you hear that, and my son's there too, and we're very protective. Like we're all in with each other, and combine that with watching too many Datelines.
Oh no.
So I was like, fuck, right? Like it's like, here we go, right? And so I'm like, all right, hop in the car. Oh, so first we message, we call, we FaceTime, right? We start connecting with her friend. No one's picking up, and we know everybody nowadays. Like they have their phones on their hands, right? Like everybody does, right?
Yeah, look at these guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we know that she should see it, but she hasn't returned a response to 7 o'clock. Now it's 11 o'clock. So instantly look at the restaurant. Oh, they closed an hour ago. Here we go, right? So I'm like, Ryan, get in the car, right? And Alex gets ready. We go down.
Boy.
By the time we just pull up, what's your guys' problem? Like everything's okay, right? And it's like, are you kidding me? You can't answer the phone or text or whatever, right? Like, so,
Andrew, how old's your daughter?
she's like 27, 28. Right? But it doesn't, she's always going to be your little girl,
Dad.
right? And
She now has air trackers and there's the soles of her
Literally,
shoes.
she cannot go out for a little girl's night till
Yeah.
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Haven't heard from her. She's
she-
having a good time. She's probably at a club.
Jessica's now been microchipped.
Yeah.
yeah, we thought of those things. Yeah.
So there's probably a tracking device on her phone now.
There
I would
always
think
is.
so.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? Like, listen, I'm just gonna admit it. You just feel a little extra protective over your little baby girl. Like, I don't know why. It just is
Yeah,
a thing.
I
Like, you
will
just
agree
feel
with
a
that.
little extra protective, and you just. So I understand that. Like, I do. I 100% get that, and I could see myself being that guy too. So I get it.
100%.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's to a good fault.
They say that having a daughter softens your heart, and I 100% believe that now.
It changed me.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it more grayed my hair than softened my heart.
Yeah.
It softened my heart big time. Well,
I
had
your
Jess now.
daughter's gonna be a heartbreaker. I could just tell.
Oh,
She's
I
very
know. I
confident,
know.
very strong-willed. Like, you can just tell.
Yeah, she'll and just stunningly beautiful, brilliantly smart. Like my daughter is the like total package for a kid, and it's one of those things. I get that a lot. Mom says no, and so says she comes to me, and my response is always, "What did your mother say?" Right? And no, so I kind of go, "Well, all right, let's do it then." Oh, okay.
It's worded differently.
Yeah, let's just.
It's
I don't
it's
want- I
so
just- I
bad
just
because
can't
moms
say
do the
no.
same thing with their sons. I see it with my wife, and she
Oh,
has a
Christ.
soft spot for Timmy. Right? It's her first kid, son, and women do the same thing. Like Pam does with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom did it with me. I don't know what it is. It's just there's like a they have a soft spot for their sons, and dads do the same thing with their daughters. I see it. I listen, I tell all the boys, I'm like, you guys are all competing for second place. I love them all the same, but you know what I mean? Like it's my little baby girl. Just, I don't know. It literally, I have 4 kids, as you guys know. My daughter's my youngest. I cried when she was born. I don't know what happened. Maybe it happened so quickly because it was literally like the fastest delivery I've ever seen. But like I was flooded with emotion. I could not control myself. I literally had to step out of the room, go to the bathroom, and like literally get myself put back together. Like my poor wife just like literally delivered a baby, and
your mascara.
And I'm just like, I was like bawling, and I was like, I didn't understand what was happening to me. But I get it. It's like your heart just softens when you have like when you hold your little baby girl the first time.
Kids
it's just
change you, right?
It's like
Boy, girl.
crazy.
You know, it goes through my brain until you have 3 older sons. Mixed martial arts, right?
Yeah.
You stick them right in there, and then they protect your little girl.
He almost has enough for a freaking away team. He just needs a couple more kids.
Well, my wife's pretty badass. She's pretty strong-willed, like has a lot of those like strong qualities, and so my daughter, I think, will possess a lot of that too. In fact, she's probably a little tougher than my 6-year-old. He's the soft one, and she's a little tougher. So,
firecracker.
oh yeah, she'll
That's
be a
good.
firecracker. She'll I think it'll take a strong man to really keep up with her. I think so.
Love
because yeah, I mean, being a parent, greatest blessing, but you never not worry.
And
You understand your parents.
I gotta say, as we wrap this thing up, man, I'm just so grateful that you're our first guest.
Wow.
Guest number 1, right? I couldn't
honored.
think of a better guest. So,
Thank you.
you know, again, man, please plug your team for us.
Yeah, we're a Victoria Property Group in Victoria. We strive ourselves to separate ourselves from the rest. We're really community driven. We love giving back. The more we give back in full turn, it comes back to us as well.
Love it. And you guys got a contest coming up. I mean, you have a badass contest. What you got going?
So a long time ago when I got injured, I went through a dark time, and then I figured out going, hey, if I help others, it makes me feel better. So since then we started feeding people, but at Christmas time we're like, hey, let's make it big. Let's bless a lot of people here. And so this is our 7th or our 8th car giveaway. So
wow.
on Christmas, so what I've done is we've aligned ourselves with all these key partners, all these businesses. They donate a prize, we promote them, and they promote us. And this year we have over 60 prizes giving back on Christmas Day.
Wow.
And which includes a car. So one person will win a car.
You're giving away a smart car, man.
It's pretty cool.
For those who can't parallel park, enter this contest. Everybody can parallel park
So
that.
just go to victoriaproperties.com or our Facebook page, and all the details are there. Make sure you just follow the steps.
Love it.
And it's all free, no strings attached. And
Love
if
it.
someone doesn't want the car, I give them cash back, right?
Nice.
So, and then we just sell give away the car again. So.
Beauty. Love it.
So cool.
Jay, final word, man.
Guys, so remember what we touched on today. I know we shared some stories, but go out of your way to like make an impact, connect with people. Don't just take people at face value always too. You don't know if they had a bad day, is there something going on in their life. Like persist through those initial, we call them smoke screens or whatever people throw your way. Cause like the gold and the connection is below that, right? So be curious about people, engage them. Don't just take no for an answer, right? Be persistent, right? Handle objections, become comfortable with it in life in general. It'll help you in business. Subscribe to our channel, guys. Give us some love. There's some comments. What you thought of Joe's story today. I mean, what a beautiful story. And
Thank you.
yeah, Andrew, thanks for being on. Joe,
As always,
Let's
Colin Chuck,
go.
you're a beauty.
cheers.
See ya.